Trump and Starmer set to unveil UK-US tariff deal. Amid global trade shakeup in a significant development in transatlantic trade relations, UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer and US President Donald Trump are poised to announce a breakthrough agreement aimed at reducing tariffs between the two longtime allies. The anticipated deal comes as governments around the world scramble to respond to a wave of new protectionist measures implemented by the Trump administration. The formal announcement is expected later today during a joint press conference at the White House, scheduled for 10 a.m. Washington, D.C. time. Downing Street confirmed the announcement and emphasized the UK's commitment to protecting national interests during turbulent global trade negotiations. The Prime Minister will always act in Britain's national interest, for workers, for business, for families, a Number 10 spokesperson stated. The agreement marks the first major post-Brexit bilateral trade breakthrough between the UK and the United States under the leadership of Prime Minister Starmer, who took office last year. It also signals a potential thaw in economic tensions following a period of escalating tariff threats from Washington, a new era of economic nationalism. Deal comes just weeks after President Trump announced sweeping global tariffs, shaking the international trading system. On 2nd April, the White House unveiled a broad 10% global tariff across nearly all trading partners, aimed at reshaping trade relations to be more reciprocal and favorable to the U.S. While the UK was spared the harshest of these tariffs, some of which reached as high as 145% on certain Chinese imports, it remained subject to punitive levies, including a 25% import tax on steel, aluminum, and automotive exports to the United States. In a characteristically brash social media post on Wednesday night, Trump teased the coming announcement, referring to a major trade deal with a highly respected country, widely interpreted as the UK. The timing is critical. The 90-day grace period Trump offered to trading partners to negotiate bespoke trade terms is approaching its end. Many governments, including those of Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, and Israel, are engaged in last-minute talks to avoid the brunt of these new tariffs. What's in the UK-US tariff deal? While the full details have yet to be published, sources close to the negotiations suggest the UK-US deal will feature suspension or reduction of existing tariffs on UK steel, aluminum, and auto exports. New rules of origin that benefit British manufacturers exporting components to US markets. Tariff reductions or eliminations on key American exports to the UK, including agricultural products and industrial machinery. A regulatory dialogue to align standards in areas like pharmaceuticals and tech. This would not only ease pressure on British exporters, but also reassure American manufacturers reliant on UK-made components and technology. Economists suggest the deal could inject billions into transatlantic trade, boost investor confidence, and prevent layoffs in key sectors already strained by inflation and energy costs. Global implications of Trump's trade doctrine. Trump's aggressive push for bilateral trade deals marks a dramatic shift away from multilateralism. His administration has systematically rolled back traditional trade norms, arguing that decades of globalization have shortchanged American workers. This approach has triggered concerns among both allies and adversaries. China has been hit the hardest so far, with tariffs up to 145% imposed on a swath of its exports, including semiconductors, electric vehicles, and rare earth minerals. Beijing has retaliated with import taxes of up to 125% on U.S. goods, such as soybeans, aerospace parts, and tech equipment. In a rare diplomatic engagement, top trade officials from the U.S. and China will meet in Switzerland from May 9th to 12 to de-escalate their dispute. The summit will feature Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer. It will be the first high-level dialogue since Vice President Han Zheng attended Trump's inauguration in January, a signal that Beijing is willing to engage. But on its own terms, India, Israel, and others in the queue. Washington is also close to finalizing trade agreements with India and Israel, further reflecting the administration's preference for piecemeal bilateral deals. The UK and India, in fact, concluded a separate trade pact earlier this week that cuts tariffs on British whiskey and automobiles, reduces Indian duties on apparel, textiles, and footwear, expands digital services cooperation and joint research in climate technologies. The Trump administration views these moves as vital to weakening China's economic influence, particularly across the global south, and to rebuilding supply chains. Disrupted during the COVID-19 pandemic and the Ukraine conflict, in parallel, talks continue with Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, and several EU nations, many of whom fear exclusion from favorable U.S. trade terms could harm their economies. Domestic politics and economic pressures for both Trump and Starmer, the announcement, comes at a politically opportune moment. Trump is seeking to solidify his economic nationalist credentials ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. His administration claims that tariffs protect American jobs and industry from unfair foreign practices and has blamed previous administrations for allowing the U.S. to become overly dependent on Chinese manufacturing. Starmer, meanwhile, is looking to reposition the UK on the world stage post-Brexit and post-Tory rule. A successful trade deal with the US, particularly one that provides tangible benefits to British industries, could strengthen his political mandate and answer critics who have called for greater clarity in the UK's foreign economic policy. Looking ahead, the UK-US tariff deal, while significant, is only a small part of a rapidly evolving global trade landscape. The Trump administration's assertive tactics are forcing countries to either comply with U.S. terms or face steep economic penalties. While some praise the approach as long overdue, others fear it is creating instability and fueling trade wars that could disrupt global markets. For now, British and American officials are eager to present today's announcement as a win-win. But the true test will be whether the agreement fosters durable economic cooperation, or if it's merely a temporary truce in a broader climate of global uncertainty. Thank you for watching InfoHub, your source for trusted news and insights. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay informed.